If you're a product manager, your calendar probably looks like a Tetris. Your backlog never ends. You're managing stakeholders, supporting engineering, talking to designers, answering customers, writing 100 docs, and somehow you're also supposed to think strategically and deliver outcomes on time. Meanwhile, if you're an engineer in tech, you're trying to protect focus time, your manager is asking for status updates, and you're just trying to keep your head above water. But here's the thing, high performing PMs and engineers aren't superhumans. They're not doing more, they're doing just the right things in the right order. Today, I'm going to show you a simple daily structure with 10 strategies or tips to actually get things done on time without burnout, without 12-hour workdays, and without living in the reactive mode. And maybe even get things done faster and finishing your day just a little bit earlier. Whether you're a PM, senior engineer, or a manager, this will help you take back your day, move faster, and actually feel proud of what you got done. Before we jump in, if you're new to this channel, welcome. In this channel, I share my journey of learning techniques, tools, and frameworks to become a future product builder who can both plan with a strategy and build optimally. Something that I believe all of our roles in tech, regardless of whether you're a designer, engineer, or a PM, is somewhat going to become. So let's dive in. For higher level productivity, especially in roles with lots of concurrent projects like product management or any leadership role, a weekly planning ritual is invaluable. One effective framework that I've looked at and I've followed for some time now is the OATS method, which stands for Outcomes, Actions, Time, and Schedule. Here's how it works in practice. Let's say you're at the start of your week on Monday morning, or better yet, you're planning for your next week on a Friday afternoon. You start with your outcomes. First, identify the key outcomes that you need by the end of next week. These are your big goals or deliverables, the meaningful results you must achieve. You can ask yourself, what will success look like next week? What must be true by Friday that isn't true now? For a product manager, an outcome might be finalize the specs for feature X and get a sign off from this Y team. If you're an engineer, an outcome could be complete module development and pass QA. Now you need to limit these to truly important outcomes, perhaps only 2 or 3 for the week, so you can stay focused on what really moves the needle. Outcomes should be something worthwhile that you'll see by the end, not just busy work. The second thing is deciding on the actions. You can now break each of your outcome into what actions that you need to take, the specific tasks that are needed to achieve it. This is like your to-do list, but scoped to these outcomes that you have planned for. It's not just a random log of to-do list for the week, but a focused set of tasks tied to your goals. For example, if the outcome is finalize the specs, your action could be something like draft the initial PRD and review with the UX team, incorporate feedback, and email the final version to stakeholders. If your outcome is a launched beta product, actions could be deploy to staging, run smoke tests, draft announcement email, etc. Write down each action and make sure that they're clear and doable. If any still sound vague or huge, break them down further. Third thing now is estimating your time. Estimate how long each action will take and be realistic or even pessimistic in your estimates. Most of us are prone to planning fallacy, meaning we underestimate how long tasks take. A good practice is to add a buffer or even double or triple your initial guess for safety, especially for complex tasks or anything involving uncertainty. The more you practice estimating, the better you'll get at matching with reality. The goal here is to map out the total time demand of your week's key actions. You might discover that you have planned 50 hours of work, but realistically you only have 30 hours available, which means something has to give. Better to realize that on Monday than on Thursday night. Many productivity coaches have suggested that you should use your own past data or colleagues' experiences to inform your own estimates. As the OATS principle advises, don't schedule, say, a full 40 hours of outcome-tied work in a 40-hour week, because unplanned stuff will pop up eventually. Instead, maybe aim to fill 60 to 70% of your week with these planned actions, leaving room for meetings, emails, and surprises. The final thing is schedule, which is finally take those actions with the time estimates that you've planned and slot them into your weekly calendar. Now, I'm going to talk about how exactly you should be scheduling these tasks into your calendar in the next few points. Many successful people swear by a protected morning routine or work block, and the consensus is do not spend your freshest hours on email or news. Right after we wake up, for most people, our willpower, alertness, and creative energy reactive mode and lose the morning edge. Instead, reserve early hours for your top priority work or planning. During this time, hydrate, get some daylight, and then tackle the day's most important task first. This might mean if you start at 8 a.m., you don't open email or Slack until say 10 or 11 a.m. after you've made progress on a key deliverable. For example, a product manager could use the 8 to 10 a.m. block to outline a strategy doc or crunch analysis, and only then sync with the inbox and team requests. Some of you might even wake up earlier at say 5 a.m., but remember, you should spend the immediate hours after waking up not on emails, not on catching up to social media, but for your most important task. That brings me to the next tip, the most important tasks. One of the simplest productivity rituals is to pick your top three priorities for the day. By defining these top most important tasks, sometimes even called MITs or the most important tasks, every morning you force yourself to focus on what truly matters rather than an endless to do list. This technique is powerful because it provides clarity and focus. You'll remember those three things and feel accomplished when they're done, rather than scattering your energy across dozens of minor tasks. Example could be a product manager might decide, hey, the three big things that I want to do today is finalize the roadmap, review the design specs with the specific team, and prepare the slides for an afternoon stakeholder meeting. That's it. Those are the three important tasks that I have to get done at the very start of the day. Senior engineers' top three could be fixing a critical bug, writing unit tests for a new module, and mentoring a junior developer in code review. By setting these clear daily intentions, everyone from individual contributors to managers can maintain direction even if the rest of the day gets chaotic. It also helps in saying no or not now to less important requests that, inevitably will pop up. Next up, rather than leaving your day to chance, practice thorough time blocking. Literally schedule every activity on your calendar, including breaks and personal time. This means if you have lunch from 12:30 to 1 or even a 10-minute mid-morning stretch, put it on your calendar. Block time for everything, even breaks. By doing this, you treat your priorities and even your rest as non-negotiable appointments. This technique, often called time boxing, ensures that important work doesn't get endlessly postponed. It also prevents, others from filling up your schedule because you have already reserved slots for your core work and well-being. Stick to these like real meetings, by the way. Research shows that writing tasks into your calendar makes you far more likely to follow through. For a product manager whose calendar is packed with meetings, this might mean blocking an hour before the day's first meeting to work on a product document. For a senior engineer with fewer formal meetings, it could mean scheduling dedicated coding blocks or even reserving time to read documentation or do code reviews. The key is that every important activity, work or personal, gets a slot in your calendar. This structured approach guards your time and helps you transition between tasks without losing momentum. Now, not every hour of the day feels the same, and not every task demands the same kind of mental effort. Now, set the mood means intentionally tweaking your environment or your approach to suit the work at hand. Part of this is about self-awareness. Notice when you're the most alert versus when you're hit lulls and schedule tasks accordingly. But it's also about making adjustments to avoid two productivity killers, boredom and overwhelm. So, if a task feels too easy or tedious, spice it up. Set a timer and turn it into a game to see how fast you can do it, or add an extra challenge for yourself. See if you can beat your previous record. This gamification will help you be engaged rather than just drift off. On the other hand, if a project feels paralyzingly large or hard, reduce the pressure by defining your MVP. What's the minimum viable product for that task? That might mean identifying the smallest valuable output you can create as a first step. Daunted to write a 20-page research report, decide that MVP would just be like one-page abstract or a bullet point outline. By doing this, you lower the challenge to a manageable level and can get started without the anxiety. If you're tackling complex problem solving and feeling overwhelmed, clear your desk of clutter. Close messaging apps. Maybe play a calm instrumental music if you like. Create a focused atmosphere that signals your brain that it's deep work time. Additionally, recognize that personal energy cycles are a thing. Some folks are night owls who do their best at work in the evening. If that's you, maybe reserve boring chores for mornings. Creative coding or writing can happen later in the day. Others get a post-lunch slump sometimes. That could be a great time to do these easy email triage or take a walking meeting kind of things. Ultimately, this tip is about being deliberate in how you approach your tasks so that your brain is either optimally challenged or comforted as needed to maintain productivity. As a result, you will find it easier to enter a productive flow state where time flies and work feels satisfying instead of frustrating or dull. Parkinson's law famously states that work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. In other words, if you give yourself all day to do something, it'll take all day, even if it really only requires 2 hours of effort. To counter this tendency, set tighter deadlines for yourself and others and hold everyone, including yourself, accountable to them. For personal tasks, try assigning an artificially early due date. For example, if a report is due Friday, promise yourself you'll deliver a draft by Wednesday. This creates a healthy sense of urgency and prevents procrastination. It also combats the subtle creep in complexity. Often we have excess time, we overthink, over-engineer a solution. Remember that Parkinson's law is an observation of human behavior, not just a physical law, which means we can actually hack it. The key strategies include careful planning, setting realistic but firm deadlines, and breaking work into smaller chunks with their own time limits. Research on time management supports this. When people focus on how much time is available, they tend to use all of that time and then some, often leading to last minute crunch and stress. Instead, if you focus on what the work actually requires and give it a fitting slot, you introduce a productive pressure. One caution here is make sure your deadlines are reasonable. Consistently impossible timelines can backfire, causing burnout or quality issues. But generally, you'll be surprised how tasks that could have stretched for days will get done just in hours when you intentionally limit the time available. It's the classic student syndrome of finishing the paper the night before. Now you have done a lot of planning, created your schedule, and have a clear deadline for yourself. But here comes the critical hurdle and probably a very important one. How do you motivate yourself to actually do the work? Without execution, all of this planning means absolutely nothing. The popular method known from Mel Robbins' book, The 5-Second Rule, is to count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then physically move. Basically, trick your brain out of procrastination by giving it a tiny countdown and an action trigger. You can just as well make it a 1, 2, 3 go if that feels natural. Point is to short circuit the overthinking. The simple activation energy hack prevents you from lingering in indecision. The moment you hit go, launch into the task for at least a few minutes. Now, why does this help? Often, once you begin a task, momentum builds and it no longer feels as daunting. This technique can be used anytime you notice yourself stalling, whether it's clicking compose on that important email or standing up to start your workout. Don't think, just say 1, 2, 3 and get to it. Now let's talk about ultradian sprints. Harness your brain's natural rhythm by working in these 90-minute blocks, followed by a 15 to 20-minute break. Neuroscience has found that our minds can intensely focus for roughly 90 minutes, after which we experience a drop in alertness and need a short rest. In fact, during these ultradian cycles, our brain waves shift about 90 minutes of high frequency activity, then 20 minutes of lower frequency recovery. By aligning your work sessions to this cycle, you work with your biology rather than against it. Many productivity experts recommend this 90-20 approach as a way to achieve deep work without burnout. For instance, you might set a timer for 90 minutes and dive into your, single most important tasks for that week with zero interruptions, no email, no quick 2-minute tasks on the side. When the timer rings, stop. Even if you're in the middle of a sentence or function, and take a full 15 to 20 minute break away from work. This method only works if you protect the sprint as a sacred focus time. Avoid the temptation to follow the common 5-minute rule that I just mentioned before. After the 90 minutes of true focus, you earn your break. Use that 20 minutes to stretch, grab a coffee, or take a short walk, not to sneak in more work. For a manager or a PM with frequent meetings, you might only get one 90-minute block a day, perhaps first thing in the morning, so treat it as golden. For an engineer, you might fit 2 such blocks in a day, one before lunch, one later in the afternoon. The consistency here is key. Over time, you'll find that 3 focused 90-minute sprints accomplish far more than a distracted 9-hour day. In the digital age, it's easy to fall into productivity by consumption, endlessly reading articles, watching tutorials, listening to podcasts, convincing yourself you're working or learning, when in reality, you're just avoiding doing the real work. To get more done, sometimes the best hack is to consume less and execute more. This doesn't mean never learn new things. It means guard against excessive input that isn't immediately useful. Consuming too much content can create false sense of productivity, and often learning becomes a substitute for action. If you notice you're spending a lot of time on prep, like watching yet another conference talk or scrolling industry forums, ask yourself if that's truly necessary or just a comfortable procrastination. For example, a product manager could decide, I'll spend 1 hour reading relevant market news, then I must move on to spend the next 2 hours on executing on my project. An engineer might limit watching coding videos and instead learn by building a small prototype. If you find yourself consuming content that you think is work, pause and redirect that time to producing output. Remember that your output that leads to a specific outcome is always going to be the most important thing. It can feel uncomfortable at first. We often consume because we fear we're not ready to start, but by jumping in, you gain real experience. Remember that done is better than perfect. You can always refine your work later, but you can't edit or improve something that doesn't exist yet. So close those extra tabs and start creating. Your environment has a profound impact on your productivity and energy. Cluttered, uncomfortable, and distraction filled spaces make it harder to focus and very easy to procrastinate. On the other hand, a well designed, comfortable workspace can boost your efficiency and even your mood. Think of this tip as treating your desk setup, office, ergonomics, and surrounding atmosphere as part of your productivity toolkit. Start with ergonomics. If you're sitting at a desk for hours, invest in a good chair and desk setup that promotes proper posture. It also reduces fatigue and aches and pains that can distract you or force breaks at inopportune times. So it's not indulgent to get a better chair or an external monitor. It's in fact smart. Even the temperature and air quality matters. Ever notice how a hot, stuffy room makes you drowsy? If you work from home, maybe it's worth getting a fan or air purifier. If you're in an office, seek a spot with decent ventilation or take fresh air breaks. Beyond physical comfort, consider organization and ambience. A clean, well organized desk saves you time and mental load. Many find that a neat environment leads to a clearer mind. Investing in your own space could mean adding a second monitor if your work benefits from screen real estate, or noise cancelling headphones if you're in a noisy open office. It could also mean personalizing the space to keep you motivated, perhaps a couple of plants or putting up an inspiring quote or your team's mission statement on the wall. These are small investments that create a vibe of focus and positivity. If your role involves a lot of creative or deep work, having a dedicated distraction-free zone is gold. For instance, if you're a senior engineer, you might have a rule for yourself that when your headphones are on, you're in the zone. For a manager, maybe a small round table away from the computer is where you go to do your big picture brainstorming on paper. Also, don't underestimate tools and technology. A faster computer, proper software, even a good keyboard and mouse can save minutes and frustration over time. In short, optimize your surroundings to optimize your output. It's a one time and occasional cost or effort that pays daily dividends in how much you get done and how good you feel doing it. So, those are all the tips I have for you to get going. If you have something you need to get done, don't click on another video. Break it down to tasks, schedule it, and sprint.